We're going to combine several thoughts, several themes that I don't think have been combined before, and take perspectives, deep dives into each one of them, and as a group, see how they come together, and if in the way they come together in our conversations at the breaks, at lunch, and at the end of the day, we can identify some opportunities for vectors going forward that would inspire both the research at Stanford University and the research in our member companies. And so let me start by saying thank you very much to the members of mediaX whose contributions and memberships make it possible for us to have conferences like these. Our memberships are at several different levels: the affiliate level for nonprofits, associate, institutional, and strategic level, and various benefits at each of these levels allow us to engage with the companies and folks at Stanford University. mediaX is the affiliate program for the Human Sciences and Technology Advanced Research Institute. So looking at human sciences and information technology and working across the many disciplines at Stanford University to where researchers are asking questions that have both humans and information technology as part of the method, the question, the quest. We are at the H-Star Institute and mediaX are in the Graduate School of Education. And in this role, we reach out to the entire university and to the corporate community of our members with a question about the horizon questions of the future. What's important to know in the next 5 to 7 years, bringing that into Stanford University, and across the university, the many people, labs that are studying various aspects of human sciences and information technology, many of which have application to education. mediaX is also researching questions that have to do with commerce and with entertainment. So the commerce, entertainment, and education increasingly are blurred. And we find, actually, in our research themes, that over 80% of the proposals that come into mediaX, and we've now received about 250 proposals, 80% of the proposals that come into mediaX, and a good 2/3 of the projects that we fund have education as a part of their theme. So it's highly appropriate that we're focusing on education today. And our goal is to look at the horizon, actually through the lens of the future. mediaX connects globally connected innovation. Our members are international with Stanford strengths. And our goal is as much to calibrate the lens that we look through as it is to identify the solution, because how you ask the question makes a great deal of difference in how you will see the results and what you will find. So as context for strategic decisions for our member organization, the wealth of information that comes from our conversations, from our networking events, that's what we're doing today, at the bottom, our theme days and workshops and special courses that are for our members specifically, and the themed research and visiting scholars, which are also for our members. Several things are important at mediaX, and one of those is the respect for other people's opinion. There are sometimes wide gaps between the way that university thinks and the way that industry thinks. And what we hope to do is to inspire both industry and university, not to change what they're doing, but to do what they're doing in the best possible way, asking the best questions. And that requires the kind of conversations that respect differences. I know you will all do that today. Just as a calendar alert coming up, we still have a few of our Tuesday afternoon seminars on interactive media and games that are underway. These are posted on the website. They're great. Please come if you can. There's no charge for attending these. During the winter, we will have a series of seminars on creating conversations with automated agents. all of the conversations that we have, verbal, nonverbal, with AI systems, automated agents. Those are conversations, and we can use what we know about conversations between people to understand how to create those better. February, we'll have mediaX Global Innovation Leadership Workshop. This is a favorite of our members, 4 days spent on design thinking skills oriented to a challenge of a particular type. Again, this year, mediaX is co-sponsoring with the Center for Global Projects the Digital Cities Conference. And on May 8th, put it in your books, your calendars, please, will be the 2008 mediaX Conference. And so we are always asking, what is it that we can do together? Industry and university, disciplines across the university. What is it we can do together that we couldn't do individually? Oh, it's fall. And although birds stay around here all year, in some parts of the country, they're starting their migration south. It's a group of starlings that is going to, together, make it from one point to another. And if you watch them, they will together set themselves down in a field to pick up the scraps of corn or wheat that haven't been harvested. And together, they will rise in the air. They will follow. They will change their direction. And if you watch them, sometimes there's one leader, sometimes there's another leader. I show this as an example of an ecosystemic change, transformation, and evolution. And I want to share some thoughts to get us started today on ecosystems, particularly innovation ecosystems, and put it in the context to give today kind of a framing. This symposium is inspired by 3 themes. I don't think they have been brought together before. But the first is education, training, and learning for the future workforce. And I think it's not a surprise to many of you that there is a shortage of skilled labor to create the companies of the future that we want to create. There are people who are falling out of the workforce because they lack the skills to stay relevant to the companies that they're working with. And the impact that that has on middle class, and many of our economies are framed around the purchasing power of the middle class. The impact of that long term is significant. And so this future workforce and the education, the training, and how people learn is critically important. We can frame it in terms of today's workforce, but you know that the children in K-12 schools, classes today are going to want to participate in that workforce. So it covers everyone from preschool to retirees who are wanting to contribute and to stay in the workplace longer than before. The second is looking at how artificial intelligence will transform the learning experience. Artificial intelligence has penetrated almost every aspect of our culture, of our lifestyles, maybe slower in education than in other fields. And then the third is this new economy that we are in that is sometimes borderless and yet sometimes with very significant constraints at the borders, in which information and the rapid flow of information has changed the way that we do business. It's changed the way that companies are established, that resources are used, that people collaborate. Well, I can give you a quote from the World Economic Forum in which they said, "Changes in education and learning environments are necessary to help people stay employable in the future labor force." In other words, we can't do it with what we've got now. We have to change. And another from the National Academies of Science, in which they said the educational system will need to adapt to prepare individuals for the changing labor market. At the same time, Recent IT advances offer new and potentially more widely accessible ways to access education. So we have to change. Barbara Kirshon, an innovator and now executive director of the Academic Innovation and Senior Fellow in Education at the Graduate School of Education at the University of Penn, says, while some progress is being made to bring artificial intelligence to the education space, these efforts pale in comparison to advancements in the non-education space. And from McKinsey & Company, engaging in digital ecosystems requires a new set of managerial skills and capabilities. How quickly companies develop them will determine if they succeed in the ecosystem economy. How quickly companies develop digital ecosystem management skills will determine if they succeed in the ecosystem economy. So what is this all about? Crunchbase has a lot of information about new companies that are starting up, and taking a look at their identification of the 90-plus edtech companies that are writing the future of education. You see many topics on this. They've clustered them together. Broad online learning, career development, learning management system and learning analytics are about as close as we get to AI in this chart. If we look at the similar listing that they pull up for startups using artificial intelligence to transform industries, hey, you notice that there is a sector that is missing here. You don't see education. You don't see training. So we can think of a learning ecosystem from the standpoint of the learner. We can think of it from the standpoint of the company, the HR department that is trying to create an environment for continually learning and performing. We can think of it from the back systems, the code on which it's written and how the systems are connected. We can think of it in terms of the various specializations, the various AI cartridges that are put into the learning system. And we can think of it in all of those ways. And I think in order to leverage complexity, and we are in a complex environment, for ecosystemic innovation, the whole thing has to change. There are several points that I'd like to offer as themes for the day. And one is that, what is an ecosystem? It's a sustainable business network built on collaboration, producing innovation, but in a nonlinear way, through the collective action. And often the actors are legally independent, but it increasingly relies on horizontal peer-to-peer linkages. The second is that there's a kind of thinking that is complexity thinking that orients contemporary innovation and economic growth policies toward enhancing collaboration within and among the emerging ecosystems within it. And the third is that there are insights, there are understandings that can help us to manage, to orchestrate the vitality and the resilience of innovation ecosystems. So they're agile, resilient, sustainable, and they can transform. I'm going to go quickly through a couple of other slides that I wanted to share with you because we were a little bit late in starting, but just to say there's a very different type of innovation that happens in a linear way than happens in a nonlinear way. And it concerns not only the dynamics of how people interact, it also impacts governance and how they adapt, different models of production, different communities are engaged, and different business involvements. And this is available in a paper. If you've been to the Academy of Sciences at Golden Gate Park, you see this marvelous exhibit, School of Fish. And if you've seen this, you'll see that they swim together in a school. At some point, now up here you can see one of them has decided, I'm not swimming this round, he's leaving. Here are a couple others that are new to this round, and they're coming in. But spontaneously, seemingly spontaneously, they may decide to swim in the other direction. And so one or two will break out and start swimming, and the others kind of get in gear and follow them. It is, I think, a very good example of reconfigurable, heterarchical rather than hierarchical, and self-adaptive. So there are many different types of business networks, and we can differentiate them by the complexity of their interaction. We can think of businesses that work together. And here in the education space, we have a number like Galvanize, like the Wilson Group, the Flatiron School. We can think of them in terms of those that actually have some cooperation with each other. These, I think, really are part of the ecosystem group. And if we look at SkillNets or Coursera, we can think of those in this context. We can then look at even more involvement and shared goal systems and interaction if we look at those that are collaborating as another level above cooperation. And here we find groups like the IoT Talent Consortium that Cisco has put together, like Skillful, the program between Markle and Microsoft, like edX, and here the collaboration has some goals that actually go beyond helping each of the businesses. So this ecosystems for innovation. And then we can look at the kind of ecosystems that are established and hope to continually innovate. And they may have involvement from the triple helix sectors, the government, the university, and business together. And here some examples might be the EIT Digital, the European Union's multi-city framework for establishing new training programs at the master's level that will inspire innovation in the IT sector. Or we can look at Digital Promise, that has both on the academic side a curation of the results of effectiveness in education, and at the same end on the other side a network, a consortium for incrementally trying and proving new approaches. Or we can look at the California Community College system, Doing What Matters, in which layers of experimentation and innovation are being orchestrated in order to test and prove new ideas that will serve the group. So what matters, I think, most about this is the characteristics of complex systems that we have. And the basic network effect, the impact of relationships, is the strength of those systems. Behavior is not necessarily prescribed. It is generally inspired rather than prescribed. Both positive and negative feedback linkages might stimulate one player, one company, one person to leave for a while, come back later. This dispersed pattern of coordination is very much a characteristic of complex adaptive systems. The self-similarity and the sense of fractals, a fractal meaning that one pattern might be repeated at a larger scale, and a larger scale characterizes them. And then the synergy of the whole system. So if we look at these as characteristics of complex systems and think about the complex transformation that is required now in education, training, and learning, and that might involve artificial intelligence in getting there, I think that there are some practical implications. And one is that we can increase the number of network nodes. We can promote the quality and the quality of the conversations, the information flow, the feedback linkages. Encourage relationships to establish themselves without management. Removing the communication goals, monitoring at the holistic level, not at the very tight detail level, and cultivating a shared vision of interdependencies and collective resources. With the innovation Ecosystems Network. Many of them are here, with whom I've been collaborating over the past, well, almost 10 years now. We've been looking at how shared vision can transform. And events like today bring people who are doing important things, influential, they bring them together. Over time, there is some impact that people coming together, sharing ideas, making, and those events have. And we realize that impact in the most meaningful way as new relationships are established. And out of these relationships, new coalitions. Because in this shared vision, there is value that is co-created and transformation occurs over time. So as you are talking with people at your table, and as we are sharing ideas today at the intersection of innovation, education, and artificial intelligence, it's my hope for our day today that we will develop some shared vision that will help us in our collaborations to transform the future, and to think about how might we consider and explore innovation ecosystems for AI-based education, training, and learning. So I'm so glad you're here. I think as I look into your eyes now, I'm hoping to see questions that you brought with you, maybe some that are coming to you now. And I hope that at the end of the day, you will help us develop the questions for the future. Thank you.